Game time decisions from Buckeye Talk for tonight's Ohio State-Wisconsin game at the Horseshoe. Big Ten opener for the Buckeyes and for the Badgers, actually, for that matter. They're coming in 2-1. Ohio State's 3-0. Stephen, this is our game time decision. So what factors we think are going to decide this game, strategic things that these teams are going to have to do. Stephen, what is your game time decision?
So Jackson Smith the Jigbas came into the season as one of the faces of college football. And he hasn't necessarily had a chance to be a dude yet. And some of that, I mean, he's been out with a hamstring injury, so that limited him. But even against Toledo, he was kind of limited there because they were playing Toledo. And so it's allowed his other weapons like CJ Stroud's other weapons, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka, even Julian Fleming, who flashed as well, to kind of take center stage. And I am wondering if we're kind of due for a Jackson Smith the Jigba moment. And the reason why is I'm paying attention to Wisconsin's defense, and Ohio State's offense is a bit of a pick your poison. And which poison does Wisconsin decide to pick? Do they want to sell all out on Jackson Smith the Jigba and take away that known weapon, even if he hasn't done anything this year? Or have they gotten so caught up in, wow, look at what Marvin's done the last 2 weeks. Wow, look at what Emeka's done basically all season. Oh, Julian Fleming is a red zone threat. Do they get so caught up in that they focus on taking away that and just allowing Jackson Smith the Jigba to do what Jackson Smith and Jigba has always done? So it's a little bit of, there's almost two ways to ask this question. Part of it is, do we finally get to see Jackson Smith the Jigba be a dude? How have Marvin Harrison and Emeka Ibuka's emergences changed maybe the way Wisconsin is going to game plan, and that will that open up the door for him to be a dude? So it's less about, hey, I want to see Jackson Smith the Jigba be awesome, and more about, is Wisconsin so busy worried about the others that it allows Jackson to finally be what we know he can be.
We're 3 games into the year. Jackson Smith the Jigba has played 2 of them. He has 4 catches for 36 yards, so obviously well below where we thought he was going to be coming into the season. We thought he would be well on his way to some kind of record-breaking year. And again, the hamstring injury interrupted that. So it is intriguing to me now that just because of the gravity that he has in the way that he affects defenses, what's that going to mean now that, like you're saying, like true number ones are emerging, especially in the case of Marvin Harrison Jr. I think I'm looking on the defensive side of things for Ohio State in this game. Looking back at last week's game against Toledo and DeQuan Finn, their quarterback, the most mobile quarterback that they've faced so far, and a guy who could really freelance in some interesting ways. I thought the pressure that Ohio State wanted to create was there by and large. And sometimes that pressure is what opened the door for Finn to do some of the things he did. Ohio State didn't necessarily handle its plan B very well with him. And it's hard to do. That's what the mobile quarterbacks, that's why they're always tough for any team to match up against. But Graham Mertz doesn't have that, and at least not to that extent, that kind of wrinkle in his game where he can be that mobile and hurt you that much with his legs, getting out and freelancing. I think this is a week where Wisconsin could very well come out and try to attack Ohio State in the air. Ohio State's been really stout against the run. Its front six is playing really well. Its cornerbacks are a lot more suspect right now, both in terms of performance and potentially in availability, because they've had some guys banged up there going back into preseason camp. We don't think Jordan Hancock's available yet. So, and they've only got 6 scholarship guys there to begin with. So if I was an opposing offense and I liked my quarterback at all, that's probably where I would attack Ohio State. So I think Graham Mertz is going to come out and throw the ball. I think he's going to put up some yards, but I think Ohio State is going to be able to pressure him. And I think Ohio State needs to pressure him. I think Ohio State needs to come after him and make him prove that he can make decisions and execute throws in a passing game with enough efficiency to beat them. I don't think he's ever done that against a good team. He has some games in his career where he's beat up on some bad teams, but against good teams, even when he puts up yards, he doesn't do it very efficiently. It comes with interceptions. It comes with bad completion percentages. And he's taken 4 sacks and 62 attempts this year. So it's about 6% of his snaps. If by comparison, CJ Stroud over the last 2 years have been about 3% of his snaps. So it's a small sample size. It's not huge, but I still think this is a game where if Ohio State, if this plays out both as I'm expecting in Wisconsin's approach and how Ohio State can respond to it, this should be a game where they get him on the ground at least a couple times, 3 times maybe. Get into the backfield, and putting him behind the sticks is how Ohio State wins this game. Come back for the post-game podcast on Buckeye Talk immediately after the game, or as immediately as we can get it up. It'll be the wee hours of the morning into Sunday. And get the text 614-350-3315. If you're wondering about any kind of injury update for Ohio State, we are texting about it straight to your phone before the game. 614-350-3315. It's a $3.99 per month, but you get a 2-week free trial. So try us out for a couple of weeks. You get a couple of game days in there before you have to decide whether you want to stay on. And we think there's value there. We'll be bringing you as much intel as we can before the game and throughout the week at Buckeye Talk.